Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak. Today I thought we could take a look at the Analogue Pocket accessories here. I've now got the full set, so we now have the ability to not only play Game Gear, which I already talked about in the past, but now we can also play PC Engine / TurboGrafx Hue cards, Atari Lynx games, and Neo Geo Pocket and Pocket Color games too. So in this video I'll be showing you all 4 of these different adapters here, and all of the different things that they can do on the system too. So let's get straight into it. And I've got a box full of games here from all the different systems, so let's leave the Game Gear ones till last because I've already shown them off on the channel. Let's start with PC Engine. So for those of you that don't know, PC Engine games came on these really cool little cards here called Hue cards, and they're incredibly thin, and they actually managed to hold some really amazing games too. Obviously they don't have the same storage capacity as CDs, and that is why in the future NEC actually made a CD add-on for the PC Engine as well. Before we start though, there is one issue I have with these, and see whether you can see what that is before we actually take a look at them. They all look identical, so it's really difficult to differentiate between them and figure out which one you're actually supposed to be trying to use. It does say what they are, but it's very difficult to see. Like, I don't even know whether you can make it out, but there's a tiny little bit of writing in the corner there. Or here's another one. But yeah, it's like almost impossible, so I need to get something to mark on there what they actually are. So anyway, let's try and find the PC Engine one now. It is this one here. And the games just nicely clip in like that, and then that goes in the back of the Analogue Pocket. So it's definitely not as nice as something like the PC Engine GT or like those other handheld PC Engine consoles, but when you turn the game on, it does look really nice too. So let's boot it up now and see what the game looks like. So as you can see, first of all, it understands what system it is, and it can pick out the name of the game and the developer and a few other details. There we go. I'll turn the brightness up a little bit so we can see it a bit clearer. The sound's really nice, and of course, being an analog system, it just looks and plays incredible as well. But I wanted, in particular in this video, to check out some of the different graphics options and other interesting features that it has. So because the PC Engine is known for having its turbo fire buttons, you do actually have 2 different buttons for each one, and I believe if you go into the settings for the system and go into controls, you can actually change the speed of the turbo and which button it actually uses too. Or you can choose between 2-button and 6-button mode. Not sure what split turbo does. If anyone knows, let me know down in the comments below. And also rotate the buttons so A and B turn into 1 and 2 or vice versa. You've also got options in here to detect the region, or to change it specifically to Japan or USA, and it can also play SuperGrafx games as well, which I didn't know. I don't actually have any SuperGrafx games to test it with, but that is really cool. And if we have a look now, this is the most interesting thing in display mode. We have these different options here. So Analogue TG16 is basically the built-in emulator with the default settings. CRT Trinitron, I don't know how well this one come across on camera, but this one basically makes it look like a Sony CRT, and Analogue always has really nice effects with their CRT filters, so you probably can't really see much of a difference on there, but it is more pronounced in person as well. We also have Turbo Express and PC Engine LT, and these are the 2 different handheld PC Engine consoles that I was talking about just now. So this one kind of mutes the colours a little bit, and it also changes the resolution slightly too. And then let's check out the last one, which is the LT, which is actually the handheld version of the PC Engine. So this is probably the closest if you wanted an authentic handheld PC Engine experience. The closest one you should use is probably this one. As you can see as well, I don't know whether the camera can pick it up, but it also kind of blurs the sprites a little bit, and it gives it a really nice like honeycomb kind of filter over it as well. Probably not doing a good job on this video showing it off, but they're all really good, of course, as expected from Analogue. And if we go back on TG16, you can see here's the default colour scheme, but if we pause it and go on colour palette, you can also choose RGB mode as well as composite. And again, you probably can't tell the difference that much on YouTube, but RGB does actually boost the colours quite a lot. And that basically refers to the different video types that you would have with a regular system as well. depending on whether you were using RGB or composite cables. You've also got frame blending, which of course just blurs any moving sprites, and then sharpness. Doesn't really seem to make much difference, I always just keep that on 3. And then finally, you've got the option to adjust the width and the height, and the X and Y position of the screen as well. But they're pretty much fine on default. So that was the TurboGrafx one, and I've tested it with a bunch of different cards and it seems to work great on all of them, so I'm really happy with this. So the next one we're going to check out is for the Atari Lynx, and the Atari Lynx is a great console. It's something that when I got my one, I actually got very excited and picked up a whole bunch of games for it. So I've got a nice big stack of Atari Lynx games to play tonight on this adapter, but for this video, let's pick out one of the cooler games for the system, this one here, Blue Lightning. This really shows off the sprite scaling possibilities. And I haven't tried this one yet, so I'm interested to see how it actually looks on the system. So there's how it looks in the adapter. I think that looks really cool. And then that one just slots in there like that. And this one doesn't really stick out the top too much either, so a lot nicer to look at than the PC Engine ones. As expected, it just looks immaculate, and I just love the fact that I can play all of these other portable cartridges on this handheld now as well. It really has become one of the best handhelds of all time, the Analogue Pocket has. I might need to turn the brightness down just a little bit so you can see the colours a bit better. It's just crazy what this could do in the 80s compared to the Game Boy, isn't it? Anyway, as expected, it runs perfectly, it looks great. So let's check out some of the settings for the system. And as you can see now that it's been updated, you've also got all of the different systems listed here too. So in Lynx, let's check out the display mode options. So we have Analog Lynx, we have Original Lynx, and for those of you that don't know, the original Lynx screen was awful, so let's see how Analog interprets that. Certainly looks a lot better than any real Lynx that I've played on. And then we also have Lynx Plus, which I think they just kind of improve some of the colours and things compared to the more authentic version. So that's how Lynx Plus looks. Not really much going on in the game, but you can get an idea of how it looks anyway. Let's just put it back on original. We also have frame blending again, and obviously some Lynx games can be played sideways as well, so you've also got the option to rotate there too. Although, let's try one of them. I think Clax is one that goes sideways. Let's try that. Let's see if it picks it up first time too, and it does. Very impressed. There we go. Oh, okay, it does actually just keep it the same direction, so that's not too bad. You would have held it upways and used the buttons at the bottom instead of on either side, so let's see how the controls work here. Seems fine, just by default, so that's pretty cool. And I was never a huge fan of Clax, but it's good to see that it works. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Clax as a game. The next one is for the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and one of the best games on the system, in my opinion, is Metal Slug 2, so let's give this one a go and see how this plays on here. And the Neo Geo Pocket is one of my favourite handheld consoles ever, so I'm so glad that I can play them on here now, and these games don't really stick out at all, so they're basically very slightly taller than a GBA game, and yeah, it looks great, and it looks amazing on the screen, first of all, just wow. That looks way better than anything that I've ever seen from the actual Neo Geo Pocket before, so let's come back up to this camera and have a look at the game in action. No way, this looks amazing. This has to be the best one that I've seen so far. I'm definitely going to play some more Neo Geo games after this. Let's get into the game here. Mission 1. Wow. That looks amazing. Pineapple. And what a great game as well. I wish Neo Geo still made their own consoles. There was talks a few years ago about SNK making a new system, wasn't there? But nothing ever came of that, so... Hey, let me know down in the comments below if anyone knows what happened to that SNK console that was promised to us back in like 2020 at this point. So, oh, we've got 4 different options here. We have Original NGPC, Neo Geo Pocket Color. That looks really nice. I love the way they've made the screen effect look on there. I don't know whether you can see it too well on this camera, but that looks really, really nice. And then we have NGC Plus, which changes some of the colours to be more like an emulator rather than playing on the actual system. And wow, this looks really good too. I don't know which one of these I would actually choose to play with. They all look so nice. And then finally we have Original Neo Geo Pocket, which is the black and white one. And I've never actually played on an original black and white Neo Geo Pocket. They were only around for a year before SNK replaced it with the colour version. But it's cool that the option's there for the original games. So let's go back there again. And yeah, you can see how much smoother things look compared to having the filter on. I actually really like this one. I think I would stick with this filter. We've also got frame blending. And that's it for Neo Geo options. So that's it for the Neo Geo, and in case you didn't see my last video, let's have a quick look at how Game Gear games play on it too. There you go. For those of you that haven't seen it before, that's how a Game Gear game looks in the Analogue Pocket. Obviously, kind of funny seeing it stick out that tall, but either way, it's really cool that you can play all of these different handhelds on the same console. I really hope that in the future Analogue decides to make one for the Wonder Swan as well. That would just complete the system for me. Anyway, let's check out the Game Gear. And what a classic game Marble Madness is. And the Game Gear port is actually really good, like way better than the Game Boy one. I'm used to playing it on the NES, and honestly, apart from the sprite missing some animation on the ball itself, this is pretty much as good as I remember as a kid. And it's such a great game. And it's so sad that the sequel was cancelled as well. Anyway, I could play this all day. Let's check out some of... I'm in the wrong section there. Let's check out some of the display options for the Game Gear. We have Game Gear Original, which, again, if you're actually aware of what an original Game Gear was, it was like 100 times worse than this to actually see the screen, but the filter does look really nice. Again, kind of difficult to make out on camera. And then we have Game Gear Plus, which again, just like all the others, increases some of the saturation in the colours and makes it look a bit more modern, I would say, a bit more like what you'd expect if you were playing it on a PC, on an emulator or something. Let me know down in the comments below whether you've got an Analogue Pocket and whether you decided to pick these adapters up as well, and let me know what other ones you'd like to see them make in the future. And before we go, they actually look really nice using the Pocket dock as well. I did actually stream some of the PC Engine games over on my Twitch channel, so go ahead and check that out after this. And if you want to see my actual full review of the Analogue Pocket that I made when I got it about 2 or 3 years ago at this point, then click the video up there and watch that one next. Goodbye.